Good afternoon. Welcome to KC Sports Night. It is Wednesday, May 7th. Gabe Swartz joined here by Neil Jones.
Hey, congratulations to you. I just learned that you are no longer an intern. You're a full-time paid employee. That's great. I was concerned because we have all this new wave of new interns coming in. I was afraid one of them might get your position, but they told me you're now full-time. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's been the case for about 3 years, but who's counting?
So I didn't realize that because you have the same desk.
Yeah, that there's no perks that I have in terms of location of where I sit that an intern does not have.
We were talking about something before we started here that I think bears being interested.
Given the news of the day,
I'm over in the Edit Bay a few minutes ago, and Gurpreet Singh, who's one of the editors, big sports fan, is in the Edit Bay next to me, and we're talking about, and he asked the question, hey, Bobby Witt's not listed with Seth Lugo and Vinny Pasquantino as playing in the World Baseball Classic. And I said at the time, back then, a few minutes ago, I'm like, good, I don't want him to play. I just told you that, and you're saying you think he will play. I don't want Bobby Witt Jr. To be honest with you, don't want Seth Lugo, and I don't want Vinny I don't want anybody playing to that thing. I love when they break for the Olympics. That I get. The World Baseball Classic is not the Olympic Games, and nobody remembers who wins. At least I don't. So I don't want the Royals look like they might be in a position to be decent, make a good run, not shock everybody like last year, but actually be for real. I don't want somebody getting hurt. I mean, a Bobby Witt Jr. somebody tries to break up a double play at second base and he blows his knee out we lose him for the rest. I am not.
Well, that doesn't happen in baseball anymore. People do not try to break up double plays, so there's less risk.
You're playing against guys who aren't big leaguers. You're playing guys who
they're playing. There's plenty of big leaguers on both sides.
But you're also playing with guys who aren't big leaguers who would love nothing more than to make a big name for themselves to try to get to America and play baseball here.
I think that the risk, the reward does outweigh the risk.
What's the reward? Who won the World Baseball Classic last time?
Japan did. They beat the U.S. in the championship, and then in 2019, the U.S. did win the title.
Oh, you gamble on all this stuff.
No,
so
I watched the World. It's incredible theater, and it's one of the rare things in the sport where it is intense baseball in a near single elimination format in terms of the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals, and the intensity of it I think is good that people buy in on. And I would say it's one of those things where it's more in its infancy because it began in the early 2000s, and so the only way to build tradition is to get the buy-in from the MLB players. Yes, there are poor situations, and we're talking about this because Vinny Pasquantino announced today that he's going to play for Team Italy. The World Baseball Classic actually has some odd rules in terms of you can play for teams that you have a passport for, you can play for teams in which your parents have a passport for, your grandparents have a passport for, or there's a clause.
If you own property in a country, you can play for them, basically.
Well, Neil, more ridiculous than that, there's a clause in the World Baseball Classic eligibility thing in which you can play for any nation in which you could I think the term is plausibly apply for citizenship and be granted it. And so Vinny, with Pasquantino as his last name, he was on Eric Hosmer's podcast this past offseason and said that his name just sounds extremely Italian. And so I honestly think
and he has Vinny's
yeah, exactly. And
it's not like his name's Herschel.
He played in 2023 on the World Baseball Classic team as well. So,
and by the way, I asked somebody, and it was not him. I asked somebody, do the Italian team? Oh yeah, they get food. They get the best food. They get all this great Italian food shipped to them. So it's awesome. Now, where do they play? Didn't they play some games over there?
Yeah. So the thing with the World Baseball Classic, and this is where if you're going to be anti this a little bit for the sake of the Royals.
Let the minor leaguers do it.
No, but for the sake of the Royals, here's where I would say is I can understand at least the fact that Italy's probably going to be in one of those pools that is going to have to travel over to Korea or Japan or whatever for pool play. Whereas the USA team is always playing in a pool play situation in which they're usually in either Miami, Phoenix, LA, or San Diego. One of those locations.
Name
and
one of
Puerto
those towns
Rico,
is safe. Just name one of them.
Okay. So there's that going on.
Okay, that's
but
good.
We will see if Bobby Witt Jr. is deciding to play for the U.S. We'll see if Salvador Perez wants to play for Venezuela. He's played for them in the past.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on. The Royals themselves last night, a little bit of a cardiac cats type of situation out at Kauffman. They got themselves down to the White Sox. They needed a little bit of help. Pop up off the head, a ball thrown into left field, an error on the shortstop. But the Royals escape. They win their 4th straight. They've won 13 of their last 15. They are winning at an incredible rate. You came over to my desk with the question today: how many teams have they beaten that have a record during this stretch of being the hottest team in baseball for the last half month? How many teams have they beat that have a record above 500? And the only one that's even a game within 500 is the 2 that they took against the Astros 2 weekends ago, which brought us to this point that they're beating the teams that they're supposed to.
Right, that's exactly right. It's a 162-game schedule. It is not like the BCS. Well, they're not beating anybody. Why should we believe in ASU? They haven't beaten anybody. Arizona State's not that good. Who have they played? That's all they say. It doesn't matter. In baseball, you play who you play, and you play your division teams a little more than the others, and that means you're going to play the White Sox a little more, and that's a good thing. It was a very good thing last year. Everybody said the Royals feasted on the White Sox. Everybody feasted on the White Sox, so the Royals were just one of the teams.
Yeah, they were 12-1 against the White Sox last year. Remarkably, was looking into their matchups with the White Sox, and in the last 9 games that the White Sox have played at Kauffman Stadium, do you want to guess how many runs the Royals have allowed to the White Sox?
No.
It's 11 runs. So
11 runs in 9 games?
In 9 games at Kauffman, and 3 of them were last night. So they're barely allowing over a run per game against the White Sox.
Pedro Grifol.
The pitch.
Hitting coach in Kansas City, very well respected. Some people believed he should have been the manager in Kansas City. Instead, before the Royals make a decision, the White Sox jump in and steal him away. And have you seen the before and after pictures of this guy? Before last year, one of the worst seasons in modern baseball history for any team, 1-loss record. And then the way he looked this year at spring training from last year, it looks like the difference between you and me. Young, vibrant, me, near death. That's how Pedro Grifol looks, the before and after. It's unbelievable.
They've moved through managers several times. Tonight the Royals will have Michael Wacha go to the mound. He has not pitched poorly this year. No one on the Royals rotation really has, even when they've gotten a spot start from Noah Cameron coming out of AAA. His ERA is Michael Wacha's, that is in the 3s.
And by the way,
but he has a 1-4 record.
I thought we'd see him. I thought we'd see Cameron, especially against the White Sox. He had that great start. They've got options on him. Why isn't he back up here pitching?
Because he has options, and because they would rather develop him. Because as we saw on Monday night, Cole Reagans just needed the one start off, and they don't see the need to go to a 6-man rotation at this point.
Well, but you could bring him up, start him again, and if he looks great, fine. And if he doesn't, then you send him right back down.
I think he'll be back up throughout this year.
I'm just saying, he's got it now. You know how pitchers are; they're up and down, right? So, why not? They've won 14 out of 15, so why not question the manager? That's what I'm doing,
Yeah, there you go. Neil, they're 21-16. They're 5 games over 500. When they were 8-14 a couple weeks ago, no one would have thought it would turn around this quickly.
Yeah.
Neil's not happy about the rotation, which is top 3 in the MLB in ERA.
I would never bring this up to the manager. I don't know him very well, and plus he has enough to worry about. But if I were to see the general manager, whom I've known for a long time, and I'm a huge fan of, and I'm so happy for him for his success, I would ask, I don't get it. You got options. Yo-yo him. He comes up, pitches, and he goes back down. It's a perfect world. But they may not have options on the other pitchers. it can't be just him. You got to have options on both guys because you're going to have to send somebody down and make room for him.
And most of the guys in the bullpen are pitching well as well. I think that Noah Cameron has pitched well enough that the prospect of him remains something that I'm intrigued to see what the Royals do at the trade deadline in terms of adding things. I think that if you are going to nitpick issues, I mean, even you saw it last night, Zerpa gives up a run last night. There's not a lot of left-handed options out of the bullpen, specifically not a lot of left-handed options that throw hard, because your most successful left-hander out of the bullpen right now is Daniel Lynch, and he's not exactly blowing it past people with strikeout stuff. But Neil, it is May 7th. The Royals are 21-16, as I mentioned before. They are in the second wild card spot in the AL, but they're also only 2 games back of the best record in the AL, which is the 3 best records in the AL are all held by teams in the AL Central.
Which is a shock because the people in the East were just completely making fun. And they were saying they all beat up on and feasted on the White Sox. They bloated their record. So you got 3 teams out of that weak division. All 3 of them won their first round games in the playoffs last year, and it shut a lot of people up. It was a lot of fun. And I think it scared the Yankees a little bit because I think they understood, okay, had the Royals had one more hot hitter in that series, I think the Royals are right in it. I think it would have gone to 7
if
games.
they just had a healthy Vinny the way that he had played until August of last year, I think that series is potentially different. Yeah. So we will see tonight, 6:40 out at the K.
You didn't even bring up the biggest story out of last night. We're gonna have it tonight at 6:00. If you think Bobby Witt Jr.'s walk-off fly ball to center field, the outfielder was pulled in, it was done. When the ball went in the air, the game was over basically because they had the bases loaded and 1 out. And give him credit, he got the run in. He didn't strike out, and he didn't hit a dribbler to the pitcher who could then throw home and get the force. He got the run in. But if you think that was the biggest event out at Kauffman Stadium, you're crazy. You're wrong. We'll have that story coming up at 6:00 on KCTV5 News Sports.
Excited to see it. All right, Neil, you were out at the Truman Sports Complex this weekend. You were out at the Chiefs practice
facility. You were playing golf, I was out working basically.
I was not playing golf, sadly. But what were your big takeaways from Chiefs rookie minicamp? As Marlia and I yesterday called it, the breadcrumbs of the Chiefs offseason, the very start. It's like we're just barely getting Chiefs news, but there is Chiefs news.
No, I mean, you had all the draft picks talk. Mm-hmm. They got out there in practice. We were able to watch them stretch for about 4 or 5 minutes.
Lucky you.
Very exciting. But you know what? When you're having a guy who's rehabbing his knee, watching him walk around and stretch and be doing those things where you're on one leg and stuff, that's not a bad thing. So we were able to watch Josh Simmons, their left tackle, that they believe has an opportunity to be a real special player for them. He was out there. Andy Reid was saying he's moving better than we thought. He's actually doing better. Now, it wasn't football, because when they did anything football where you might put a lot of pressure on that knee and push off, he stayed off to the side, but he was doing all the stretching and stuff. That was good. Jeffrey Bassa, the linebacker out of Oregon, who the scouts love. They've been watching him for 3 years. He is one of the most engaging players that we have spoken to. Rookies. Obviously, they've had some guys who've come in who were veteran players who were just, Justin Reed from Stanford University. Justin was laughing at the Super Bowl, not on camera, and when I'm standing over there and I go, "Are you getting sick of this?" And he goes, "No, this is pretty good." What I've gotten sick of in my career is when we lose, whatever team I've ever been on, whether it was Houston Texans or the Chiefs, Stanford University, if we lost, they trotted me out because they figured I was savvy enough not to say something bad, So he goes, "This is actually fun. I'm talking, and it's before the game, and it's not about trying to explain away a loss. It's pretty good." Well, so you have veterans like that who come in and they're just fabulous at the microphone. This guy is unbelievable. He he's a great interview. By all accounts, he's an unbelievable athlete. He started out as a safety, which means he could run because Oregon's got athletes. They moved him down in the box because of the changing nature of college football, where they're spreading you out and they need a heat-seeking missile to play linebacker. You don't have to be 250 pounds like all Alabama and Auburn did over the years in the SEC, where it was like a rugby scrum at the line of scrimmage, and you need a big, strong guy who can push the pile. That's not what they have at Oregon. They want somebody who can run and make plays, and that's what this guy is. So he's a great athlete, but on top of that, he seems like the most engaging guy. I can't wait to have opportunities to interview him the years to come. If he stays healthy, and look, he's a fifth-round pick, right?
Yeah.
So that's not automatic that he'll make the team, but I think he is automatic. I think the greater likelihood is that I'll either die or be fired, but I hope to be interviewing him for years to come.
Well, he's a fifth-round pick. He was a guy who the Chiefs traded up for. They moved up in the fifth round to select him, and they selected him. And I remember either it was Brett Veach or it was one of the area scouts.
It was the area scout, the guy who had scouted him.
And said that the Chiefs, they were admittedly thinking, oh, we need a running back still at some point in this draft, but this guy is higher on our board than anyone else by a pretty wide margin, and so he was a pretty much a best player available selection for the Chiefs. I also think, as you mentioned, with his background as a safety, as how quick he is, that's kind of the kind of skill set as far as a linebacker in terms of speed that the Chiefs missed, at least in not having Willie Gay on the roster anymore last season. So
this guy looks more athletic than Willie Gay, maybe not as big. I could be wrong about that.
Okay.
I'm just looking at him. We also, it's interesting. It used to be in the old days that everybody on a college football team, Division I team, especially at big schools, they all got interviewed. The locker room's open. You go in 2 or 3 days during the week, and you're talking to them. Hey, you're playing Kansas State next week. Hey, you got KU. Hey, Missouri has got so-and-so. You go in. It's not like that anymore. They limit the exposure to players. At Mizzou, they do it. You can get them during the week a little bit, but after the game, you don't have your choice. You get who they bring in, right? Mm-hmm. So they don't talk as much. So it's always surprising to me to talk to a kid who gets signed or drafted or signed as a free agent to an NFL team. That means he was a good player. You do not get invited here unless you can play a little bit. Now, there are some guys that filled out the rosters for college free agents that are here as a favor to a coach. Hey, coach, could you bring our guy in? He's a great kid. His mom and dad are great. He rooted for you guys. Can you bring him? There's a little of that goes on because they're only here for one weekend, the rookie minicamp, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
But after that, there's not. Well, the kid from Florida, the wide receiver from Florida, came in, and he was nervous.
Elijah Badger. Yeah.
A good football player in college, and he was nervous. And I was surprised. And he was very, very nice. He seemed like a really good young man, but he was nervous. And you're like, guys, at Florida, they get a lot of publicity, and it just goes to show you sometimes that kids don't get that many interviews. And also, I'm sure they've been coached up. I know they've been coached up by Chiefs PR. Don't talk about the team. Just talk about you. Just if they ask, what's your role going to be, just say, I'll do whatever the team needs. That's what Andy Reid wants. So that's what they say. So maybe he was nervous because, oh, gosh, I can't. What am I supposed to not talk about? Whatever. But so it's kind of weird. It's kind of interesting to me. You never know exactly what to expect. But some great guys came out. I think that they've got a chance. Brett Veach and those guys in the scouting department do a wonderful job of identifying players who can play in their systems. They want defensive players who are smart, who can pick up things, who get in the playbook, and who understand we're not going to be in the same defense the whole season like they do at some colleges, basically. They go, we're going to play our base defense unless they prove that we can't play it. It's different. Steve Spagnuolo is going to ask you to do a lot of things and make a lot of reads and be able to, right before the snap of the ball, get a call from somebody else who's gonna change things, and you're gonna have to change what you're doing and have to be quick enough to mentally to do that. So it's always going to be fun to see how they integrate those guys.
Yeah, it's a little interesting to me that you mentioned that Elijah Badger was a little nervous. I think that he spoke to. I mean, he was. So I'm familiar with him at least. He was at Arizona State for several years while I was there, and he was pretty highly sought after, a high 4-star recruit. He was a guy who led ASU in receiving twice.
Where's he from originally?
Folsom, California. So I think that's outside of Sacramento type area.
They got a prison. I know that. But I remember Johnny Cash.
Okay, and well, so I think he's a plus athlete, and he's a guy who probably expected that he was going to be drafted at some point, not going undrafted. I think that if anything, ASU's quarterback situation for several years probably hurt him. He didn't produce as much as he should have.
One thing he did
Florida,
say. The only thing he said, you bring that up. The only thing he said they said, "Are you surprised you weren't drafted?" He goes, "Yeah, I should have been drafted," and he didn't say it in an arrogant way. He said, "Yeah, I mean, I should have been drafted probably." So I agree with you. I think that it was surprising that he was there. And obviously, we understand on the offensive side of the football, Andy Reid and his coaching staff, they know how to use talent. They can find something a player can do at a high level, and they can put it in their offense and exploit that and not ask them to do stuff they don't do. That's what I think one of the things that makes Andy Reid so successful.
Yeah, so I don't know necessarily how quickly he'll produce or if he'll produce much at all. I think it's one of the deeper position groups on the roster at this point because of how they've rounded things out, assuming that the health of Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, all of them are in tune. But and then the last thing about Bassa that you mentioned, the Chiefs did put out a social video to their social media team, and it was like they videotaped all of these guys on their first day of practice being like, how nervous are you, scale of 1 to 10 to start a job. And Bassa was like 0. Like he's like, this is a job that I'm well prepared to do.
Well, I asked him something, and he answered it. He got it. I've asked this before, and sometimes guys get it. Sometimes they are like, what's this guy fishing for? And that is, I said, you play your last football game, and in his case, it was a playoff game, college football playoff game for Oregon. Mm-hmm. Take off the green jersey, and now you go off to a camp somewhere, usually, where you prepare yourself, and there are other players there working out with you, and they kind of become your little team. But nobody plays together. Usually nobody knows anybody else. They might know somebody from playing against them or something, and they're working out. But it's about me. It's not about you and me. I mean, Gabe, you're a nice guy and everything, and we're working out at the same place under the same trainer, but it's not a team. And I said, how nice is it to have a team? You walk in a building and everybody's wearing the same color jersey, and you've got coaches. You feel like a part of it. And he got it, and he got this huge smile on his face. And I used the interview on Sunday on Channel 5 because it really struck me. He goes, it's great. You walk in the lobby and the Lamar Hunt Trophy or is there, and then you've got the Lombardi Trophy and the logo, and you're like, wow, I'm here. I'm really here. And I do think that a lot of players feel that because the lead up to the combine, it's from, if you play in the college football playoff, you've got the combines in April, at the end of April. And so you've got all that time. You're not taking off. You are working. And if you need to lose weight, you lose weight. If you need to get stronger, work on your bench press, you do whatever you have to do. You work to get yourself in the best shape you've ever been in. No classes. You put school on hold. Take the semester off. And you put everything into it. And then draft night, you're there. And it is so scary. And you're with your family. And a couple of these kids had watch parties and they didn't get drafted. And so this is their chance at redemption. But now they join a football team. It's remarkable how many times these guys are like, thank goodness I'm here. I got with a good team. I got with a great coaching staff. It's pretty neat. I want to ask you a question. We got baseball with the Royals, but Channel 5, KSMO, our sister station, we've got a weekend of baseball on Friday and Saturday night at 6:35 p.m. when we have something that's been a lot. I remember when they announced they were going to have minor league baseball in Kansas City, and people were like, why? We have the Royals. The Royals weren't very good back then. This was in the 90s. And people said, it'll never work. Well, guess what? The Monarchs, and before them, the T-Boats, it does work. It's a different target audience. They're not trying to steal people from the Royals. This is a different deal. Free parking, cheaper tickets. They for a long time had dollar hot dogs. Do you ever? I love going to games out there. When we've had people join us in town, we'll go to Kauffman Stadium to see the Royals, but we'll also try to take in a Monarchs game out at what used to be Community America Ballpark. Now it's Legends Field, which I think is perfect name for it. Do you ever go out there?
I've never been to a Monarchs game, which is, I think, a little bit shocking given I've been to several games of everything kind of around here.
And there's not a legal reason why you don't go into Wyandotte County. I mean, you're not banned or anything?
Nope, I'm not. I've been out to the Legends plenty of times. I just have never been to a Monarchs game.
You need to take Mrs. Timmy out there with some buddies, and your brother-in-law would be perfect. He likes to have a good time, and because it's a different dynamic. When we brought we had French foreign exchange students 2 years in a row. Twin sisters, one came one summer, the other one came the next summer. Both of them loved Kauffman Stadium. One of them fell in love with Salvi, but they also both loved going out there because it's like a picnic. You're going out there and it's just fun and it's easy. Let's run around, let's walk around the whole stadium, and it's just a different dynamic.
Yeah, it's a very different. It's a nice change up from Major League Baseball, and I think that's what any minor league baseball is like. I remember growing up in Central Illinois and going to Single A Peoria
You grew up
Chiefs
in Canada.
Games. I've grown up all over the place.
You grew up in Canada. You're Canadian, right?
I think that's minor league baseball is a soft spot for pretty much anybody who likes baseball at any level. All right, Royals tonight, 6:40. Hopefully the rain in the area holds off for the most part or doesn't impact things too much. KC Sports Tonight again, back tomorrow night at 5:30.
And Gabe, congratulations again on making full time.
Yes.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really great to be here. All right.